this afternoon. I want to show you guys some of this video that we got from Sky 7. Sky 7 was overhead at this large event where a crowd of people left from the Oakland Federal Building and marched around the city. They are now coalescing around the downtown area. Around a dozen demonstrations happening around the Bay Area Wednesday in honor of May Day. The annual protest, always on May 1st, trace their roots back to the labor movement of the late 1800s.
First is solidarity with all worker struggles, then is solidarity with immigrant workers and for the right to be here.
In San Francisco, Sky 7 video shows hundreds gathering at a BART station before marching down to City Hall in the morning. People calling for greater rights and protections for working class people amid growing struggles.
May Day 2024 is a struggle for survival for workers, and especially with AI and robotics, because the plan is to get rid of large numbers of workers.
This year's demonstrations also merging with pro-Palestinian protests too. At another rally outside San Francisco's Ferry Building in the afternoon, activists calling for an end to the war in Gaza and U.S. support for Israel.
The money that is going to support the genocide in Palestine is yours and my tax money.
Many protesters specifically telling us that they believe that money would be better spent tackling problems here at home.
People are homeless in San Francisco. They can't get health care. Why is the money being spent here?
Different protests are expected to continue throughout the day Wednesday. Workers here say they hope that helps to spread their message.
There hasn't been a general strike in the United States since 1946 in Oakland. It's time for another general strike.
How many people know who Harry Bridges is? Okay. My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with the United Front Committee for Labor Party. I'm a member of the Pacific Media Workers Guild Union of the CWA members. And one of the reasons we're having this event today is in solidarity with journalists in this country, Julian Assange, Mumia Abu-Jamal, but also the journalists in Palestine who've been murdered and targeted by the Israeli government. 133 journalists have been killed in Palestine. And not only have they killed the journalists, but they killed their families. So May Day, Harry Bridges, which this plaza is named for, was one of the leaders of the San Francisco General Strike in 1934. And one of the things that general strike did is it won a union hiring hall, which they have, and they're having a meeting this morning on May Day. A union hiring hall in which the workers control the hiring hall. That is workers' power, and that's what we have to have in this country. The general strike, the last general strike was in 1946 in Oakland. Clerical workers were on strike, and transit workers shut down the train in Oakland, and that was a general strike. Why are general strikes important? Because general strikes unite the entire working class. And as we know, thousands and thousands of workers at Amazon and other companies are fired, and at Tesla are fired simply for trying to build a union. It's illegal to fire a worker in the United States if you want to have a union, but thousands are fired. We have to end that. And the general strike in 1934 strengthened workers, so hundreds of thousands of workers joined unions here and all over Northern California. General strikes are needed by workers to collectively show our power and strength. That's why general strikes happen. And it's important that a general strike happened in San Francisco in 1934. Now, May Day is a day that actually started in the United States in Chicago. How many people know about the origins of May Day? Okay, in 1886, workers in Chicago decided they wanted to fight for an 8-hour day. And thousands of workers came to a rally in 1886 in Chicago to organize for May Day. And a bomb went off, and 4 workers were hung, they blamed the workers in a frame-up. But these workers who were fighting for an 8-hour day in 1886, that demand is still relevant today. How many people work longer than an 8-hour day in this country? A large number of people have to have 2 and 3 jobs. That is the reality for American working people. Automation, AI, and that's another issue we're talking about today. The center of AI is in San Francisco. The billions of dollars that is being spent by capitalists for AI is not going to help people. It's going to get rid of workers. It's going to help the billionaires who own these companies. What we're saying is AI should benefit working people. Instead, AI is getting rid of nurses, getting rid of teachers, getting rid of journalists. AI is being used as a ramming rod against the working class. So what we're saying is AI for the working people. AI for workers, not for the billionaires. That's one of the issues on May Day 2024. The other issue is that there's major privatization in San Francisco. In San Francisco today, and people will be talking about it, there are thousands and thousands of workers who are doing public work. They're called nonprofit workers. They're doing public work, but they're not being paid public wages. So we have to say that if you do public work, you get public wages. That's important. And we have to say the privatization of hospitals, where they're outsourcing at General Hospital, the privatization of education, where they're outsourcing at colleges, it has to stop. Young people today who are on encampment at San Francisco State, an encampment at University of San Francisco, encampments all over at UC Berkeley, they are not only fighting for the Palestinians, they're also fighting for the money and the wealth in this country to go to public education. Education should be free in this country. Why are students going to debt in this country to have education? It's outrageous. Yet this Congress, President Biden, the Democrats and Republicans seem united that the highest priority in this country is to send $95 billion to Ukraine, to Israel, to Taiwan. What the hell are the priorities in this country? What the hell are the priorities? People are going bankrupt from health care costs. People can't afford to get education, and they're spending billions and trillions for war. That has to end. So on this May Day 2024, we're saying the wealth of this country should go to the people of this country and this world. That's where the wealth should go. How can it be in this city with over 80 billionaires, people are lying in the streets, people have tents up and don't have housing. There's 16,000 empty flats in San Francisco. Their gentrification is going on here and other places. Workers can't afford to live here. They have to commute hours and hours. That's wrong. Workers should be able to live where they work. That's a basic issue. But in order to do that, working people need their own political party. The Democrats and the Republicans represent the billionaires. That's a fact. That's a matter of fact. They represent the billionaires, and that's why in San Francisco, the billionaires have funded to take over the Democratic County Central Committee. The Democratic Party in San Francisco now says the solution to housing is more gentrification, more millionaire condos. How many condos, millionaire condos, do we need in San Francisco? Is that something people need? I mean, it seems like the developers want condos in San Francisco, but for the billionaires, we're saying housing for the people, not for the wealthy. And this housing has been taken over by hedge funds, and they're kicking people out. They're raising prices so people can't afford to live. What kind of society is when the housing is for profiteering, like the war? The war in Palestine against the Palestinian people is making billions of dollars for the war profiteers. Raytheon and these companies make money for every bomb that's dropped. In fact, it's unlimited, the money that they have. Afghanistan, the billions that they spend in Afghanistan, these wars abroad come out of the pockets of people in this country. That's who's paying for the wars. We, working people, are paying for the wars. So we have to say, stop funding these wars. Stop funding the war on the Palestinians. Hands off the Palestinians. We need a general strike. We need a labor blockade of the war, Israel, to shut it down. Now, the ILWU took action to support the Palestinian people. They supported a boycott of the Zim line. Zim's, which is an Israeli shipping line, used to have a run in Oakland, at the port of Oakland. And there were thousands of people in 2014 and 2010 who went to the port. The ILWU said, we're not going to cross the picket lines. And as a result of that, Zim had to shut down all their ships on the West Coast. Right on for the ILWU that they took that action. Working people have the power. Now, today in San Francisco, as I said, there are actions all over. There are marches and rallies, and we need to bring those together. We need to unify all workers, all in San Francisco and globally, because the issues here of housing, of health care, of education, these aren't just issues in the United States. They're not just issues in San Francisco. They're issues in Namibia, in South Africa, in Japan, in Europe, and France. And workers today all over the world are marching and rallying. In Turkey, we'll hear there was a rally that was attacked in Taksim Square in Turkey, where workers wanted to rally. So we're saying the danger is now that fascism is on the rise. Trump and these fascists want to destroy democratic rights. They want to tell a woman, you have no reproductive rights. In fact, Trump even said they want to track women who are pregnant to see if they're going to have an abortion. What does that sound like? Can you imagine a government saying we're going to track women to see if they're going to have an abortion so they don't have an abortion? That is an outrage, an outrage. And the fact that the two major choices are the Democrats and Republicans, this is a real problem in this country. We need a political alternative so people have a working class political alternative. That's critical. So our first speaker is a brother from ILWU, a longshore worker, and he's been speaking out for justice as an injured worker. And I want to let people know the corruption of the workers' comp system. It's controlled by the insurance companies and the employers. They're engaged in workers' comp fraud. But the only people who get picked up by the police are workers. They don't go after workers' comp fraud by these companies and employers. So welcome this brother from the ILWU.
Hello everybody, my name is Harold Aday. My plug number is 101148. I got hurt in 2007 and I've been fighting ever since. To try to get my money. I'm a single dad and they stole about $125,000 from me. It might be more than that, so I'm suing for $128 million. Because I'm about to lose my home, and I'm fighting for that. And I just wanted to say for the injured workers that this is not right. And plus, I got a learning disability, but I was raised in Castro Valley where people took me under their wings. I went to the library, and I did my homework. They taught me how to, I'm in an adult literacy program at the Castro Valley Library. And the tutors that I had, we wrote letters to the union, to PMA, to everybody. They still did not do what they're supposed to do. They sent all my paperwork back to me, and now I met a brother named Paul from the hall at the Kaiser Hospital, so they have a movement going on. So now I seem like I'm not alone no more, so I got to speak up. So I'm not going to take up too much time. No problem? Well, I heard just now they're going to have a strike down at the port at 4 o'clock. I think that's wrong because it should be at 7 o'clock in the morning because they still got a day shift going on and they can get off, do the strike, and go back to work at night. So that's even wrong. So everybody's been misled. So I'm just here trying to tell the truth what they did to me. They owe me $848 a week, and I'm retired, but they're not paying me what they're supposed to pay me because I signed the wrong application for retirement. I'm supposed to sign the disability retirement papers. And luckily I found that paperwork of all the other paperwork that I had. So then the money they try to give me, I'm giving that back. I want to be made whole. And I want to be paid for my pain and suffering. So that's all I'm going to say. And I just wish everybody here, thank you for coming out. And I'm not a very good speaker, but as this goes on, I will get better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
All right. That's my sign?
Which one?
Okay. Thank you. Oh, this is my sign right here.
So this issue of injured workers is another example on May Day why we're here today. Because when a worker gets injured on the job, why do you have to fight for health care? Why do you have to fight for health care? And the reason injured workers have to fight for health care is the health care system is controlled by the insurance companies. The health care system is controlled by the employers. So when you're injured and you're trying to get your injuries taken care of, you have to fight the insurance company. And a lot of workers are homeless today in San Francisco and around this country because they've been injured and they don't get prompt health care treatment. And if you don't have treatment when you're injured, what happens to you? You become permanently disabled. That's what happens. So they are actually permanently disabling workers by not getting health care. So another struggle here in San Francisco is of workers who are fighting for justice and against the Zionists. And Cristina Gutierrez is a healthcare worker and has been involved in a struggle to support the struggle of the Palestinians. She's been retaliated against, and she's fighting against the attack on her center. So welcome, Cristina Gutierrez.
Buenas tardes a todos. Hoy quiero hablar también en español. I'm also doing it in Spanish and English. Yo quiero hablar principalmente que hoy es el día en que conmemoramos la lucha de trabajadores. Muy importante entender que esta es una lucha de clases, no una lucha de género o de edades o de colores o de razas, pero una lucha de la clase trabajadora por sus derechos básicos. Es lo que estamos conmemorando. What I like to say is, I want to start by saying that we better remember that what we are here is commemorating a working class struggle that took place, that it is this, and today we need to remember that, because they've been lying to us, trying to make this a struggle of gender, colors, races, and not a working class struggle, so we are all separated this way. So we need to go back to the roots of this struggle that will unite us all, which is that we are all workers, we produce everything, and we should own everything. That's the end of the struggle. That's what we want, to own everything. We don't want no, curitas, how you say curitas, bandages, no. We reindicate struggles, but we want power. We want workers' power. We want to control the countries, the nations, so that the wealth that we produce, the natural resources of our country, are there to serve our people, to protect our people, to give housing, health care, education, and jobs to all of us. That's what this struggle is all about, brothers and sisters. It's about socialism. Please, brothers and sisters, that's me. I'm fighting for socialism, to change this goddamn system. Because as long as this system exists, nothing will change in Palestine. Nothing will change in the United States, or Peru, or Africa, or Asia. So we need to understand that we must unite in this day. That's what I want to tell you. We need to unite, brothers and sisters. We need today, they are killing, they are beating up students that took the initiative and the guts to take over those universities. And they are being beat up by the police of this democracy. They're being denied the right to protest. And we need to worry about that, because it shows that there is a consolidation of fascism here and all over the world. But also the working class can consolidate itself. And maybe this is a beginning, brothers and sisters, where we're going to say, enough of you lies. I'm not talking about, yes, immigrant rights. I'm talking about workers' rights. I'm not talking about just black and brown rights. I'm talking about workers' rights. That's what unites us, brothers and sisters, and we need to move forward in that direction. Whatever little time we have, how many we are, many or too little of us, this is our time, brothers and sisters. This is our time, because the people, the workers of the world are watching, are seeing what capitalism is all about. That's why they are on the street, not only in the United States, but in Latin America and Europe and all over the world, brothers and sisters. And they are seeing what capitalism is all about. And here we have the great opportunity to raise consciousness of the workers in this nation and let them know that the money is being used for war. The tax money is being used to murder. Meanwhile, we have homeless without a house. We have people without the right for education. We have been unable to pay for that education, unable to pay the debt that they have for that education. We have people without housing, brothers and sisters. We are losing our homes every day because we cannot afford the way they are going. We have no right, brothers and sisters, to jobs that are well paid. 8 hours a day work. Remember, we fought for that. Now you need to have 2 and 3 jobs in order to meet the needs, so that has been taken away from us too. So that's all I'm saying, brothers and sisters. We must unite as workers, as working class, and put an end to this goddamn system once and for all. That's the people united will never be defeated. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Thank you. Gracias.
So one of the things about May Day is culture and art and voices. And we have a poet today from the Revolutionary Poets who's going to do a poem for us, because the solidarity of poems and music is critical to May Day. Workers' voices and music and culture are critical. So welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Power to the people. Power to poetry. What?
That's your husband right there?
Are you okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, okay.
All right, all right. Artificial intelligence takes away jobs. Artificial intelligence sends drones to bomb people in Gaza, in Palestine, in Syria. Artificial intelligence could start World War III. Artificial intelligence may be the beginning of the end unless we act. We cannot hand over responsibility for war to artificial intelligence. We cannot hand over responsibility for workers to artificial intelligence. We cannot hand over responsibility for health care to artificial intelligence. It is time we took responsibility for ourselves. It is time we took responsibility for our own power, ourselves, our bodies, our thoughts. It is time we took power over the wealth of this country. It is in our hands. We belong at the top, making the decisions. Power to the people, solidarity to the people, power to Palestine, solidarity to Palestine, and all who are occupied, and all who are oppressed. Power. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And our next speaker has been the fighter for Uber and Lyft drivers and has been fighting these companies, these AI companies like Uber and Lyft, who are destroying the lives of working people. How many people have seen Uber and Lyft drivers in their cars? Many of these drivers sleep in their cars. What is going on in this country when people have to sleep in their cars because they can't get a place to live? This is wrong, and these companies are profiteering off of really slave labor. So welcome Edward Escobar.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward Escobar. I'm the founder of Alliance for Independent Workers, the hashtag Drivers Unite movement. If you'd like to get some more information, we have our banner right over here. International Workers' Day, May Day. This is about the exploitation of workers, extreme corporate greed, extreme capitalism, exploiting the workers. And we need to stand together and constantly calling out the corporations. And I want to clarify, we're not against big tech, because we do rail against the robo-taxis, autonomous vehicles, because they're not ready for prime time. Even the fire chief said the same thing. But we are against the tech that benefits the few at the expense of the many. When these folks are putting profits before people 24/7, it's not acceptable, people. They're trying to privatize the public trust. Do you understand? Our tax-paying dollars paid for all this infrastructure. And they want to come in and take the cream off the top and not give anything back. And that's the problem. It's called sustainability factors. For these guys, well, gender, non-gender, for these people, some of them are behaving more like animals. That sustainability factor does not exist for them. It's all about taking the profits and running. Like you see Travis Kalanick, he basically got his golden parachute. $5.3 billion, people. The CEO of Uber. $5.3 billion. Does he need all that money? No. What is he going to do with all that money? Stupid. It's not going to be for us.
I got you, bro.
You got it? Yeah. Okay. So, I've been a driver myself since 2014. I've driven with 9 different app-based companies. I'm a private black car driver at this time, but I know what the folks are going through. It's the immigrants, the low-income, minorities, seniors, disabled, ex-cons, single moms, single dads, students, veterans. All these folks are being marginalized. They're being divided and conquered by big tech. Now, San Francisco is considered the Hollywood of tech. So you could probably be involved in tech, any of you guys here. But you got to do the right thing. There's a thing called compartmentalization, where they don't tell you what they're really up to, what their real plans are. But it's about extreme exploitation at the expense of that laundry list of folks that have been marginalized and always further marginalized. Why? Because we allow it. We got to stop pointing the fingers at others and start looking at what can we do to make a difference here today. If we do not, there is no tomorrow, people. There is no tomorrow if we don't do something here today. So now is the time to make the difference. May Day is the real Labor Day. May Day is the real Labor Day. Let me hear you say it. May Day is the real Labor Day. May Day is the real Labor Day. Why is that? It's because May Day syncs up with the rest of the globe, with the rest of the world. They celebrate the rights of workers today, not on Labor Day with barbecues and picnics and everything, but they commemorate, they memorialize those who came before us, who gave their lives for the labor struggle. So we have to bring their spirits forward. They have to be known. Where are we standing here today? This is called Harry Bridges Plaza.
Where's the statue at?
Harry Bridges Plaza. Actually, they were supposed to do a statue here, and they haven't, because apparently they say they don't have any money for it. San Francisco, hello. They don't have money for it. Money seems to be disappearing, $15 billion budget plus, and we're not seeing results in our city, are we? It's not acceptable, people. It's not acceptable. So I'm going to read to you here about Mr. Harry Bridges, because we're standing on his ground here. And he's the one who made the difference for labor, for the ILWU in the formation. My fellow workers, friends, and citizens of San Francisco, as we gather here on this May Day of 2024, we stand united, not just in celebration of International Workers' Day, but in remembrance of a man whose life's work was the embodiment of the spirit we honor today, Harry Bridges. He was born Alfred Bryant Renton Bridges. The son of Australia became a beacon of hope for the American laborer at the tender age of 16. He set sail across the vast oceans, not just in search of adventure, but driven by an innate sense of justice that would later define his legacy. Upon his arrival in the United States in 1920, Harry Bridges did not simply join the workforce, he became its champion. As a longshoreman in our very own San Francisco ports that you see here, he saw not the disparity of his circumstances, but the possibility of change. In the throes of the 1930s, when the world was gripped by economic despair, Harry stood as a colossus in the local branch of the International Longshoremen's Association. His leadership in the monumental 1934 ILA strike was not merely a protest. It was a clarion call for the dignity of every working man and woman. When the ILA could no longer contain its vision, Harry Bridges forged a new path in 1937. After becoming alienated from the ILA leadership, he led the Pacific Coast Division out of the ILA and formed the International Longshoremen's and Warehousemen's Union, the ILWU. Let me hear it for the ILWU, the ILWU, the ILWU. Now, they affiliated with the Congress of Industrial Organizations, the CIO. Now, this was not a man who sought conflict, but one who would not shy away from the battle for workers' rights. His journey was fraught with legal skirmishes, his character assailed by accusations and political machinations. Yet, through the storm of controversy, Harry Bridges stood unflinching, his resolve as steadfast as the Golden Gate. Let us not forget that this man, who faced down the specter of deportation, embraced the land of the free with such fervor that he became one of its most ardent protectors. From seaman to citizen, from laborer to leader, Harry Bridges was a personification of the American dream. Though he departed from the world on the 30th of March, 1990, his spirit marches on with us today. As we lift our voices in solidarity, let us carry forward the torch that Harry Bridges lit, a torch that illuminates the path to equality, justice, and the unyielding belief that together we can overcome any adversity. Here's a quote from Harry Bridges. "There will always be a place for us somewhere, somehow, as long as we see to it that working people fight for everything they have, everything they hope to get, for dignity, equality, democracy, to oppose war, and to bring to the world a better life." Thank you, Harry Bridges, looking down upon us, for showing us that one person's courage can indeed change the course of history. Let us march on, not just for today, but for the tomorrows yet to come, in the in the name of Harry Bridges and all those who believe in the sanctity of labor. International workers, unite today in solidarity. May Day 2024. Thank you.
I said that I'm suing for 128 million. That just jumped to 200-something million. When I get my money, I will put the plat up for Harry Bridges.
One of the issues that we have today on May Day 2024 is that our unions, some of them, the AFL-CIO, are in bed with Israel. In fact, the leadership of the AFL-CIO are Zionists. They believe in the idea of a Jewish state. Now, in America, in our unions, we fought for equality for all. Not rights for some workers and not other workers. In fact, Harry Bridges and the ILWU fought for black workers to join the union. This used to be a segregated port. There weren't black workers working on the docks unless they had a strike, and then they would hire, the bosses would hire black workers to break the strike. And the ships in this port used to be segregated, and a union called the Marine Cooks and Stewards actually set up a picket line, and they said, this ship is not going to sail until it's integrated. That's what they did right here on the docks of San Francisco. That's how they integrated the ships then, using workers' power. Now, one of the issues is that the AFL-CIO is, not only do they support Zionism, the Zionist state of Israel, but the AFL-CIO is actually connected to the Histadrut, the Israeli Trade Union Federation. The Israeli Trade Union Federation supported the apartheid regime in South Africa. They supported Guatemala, the military and right-wingers. And there was a resolution that was passed by UPTE, CWA UPTE, and this struggle to fight to break the AFL-CIO from Histadrut is important for all workers. So welcome Lisa Milos, who's a member of UPTE.
Elizabeth Milos, I'm a UCSF medical interpreter. I'm also a member of the University of Professional and Technical Employees, CWA 9119, the healthcare and education sector of the Communication Workers of America. I'm going to unpack some things related to the labor movement, the U.S. labor movement. But first, I want to make something clear. The General Federation of Palestinian Trade Unions put out a call for this May Day, as they have done previously as well. And one of the important aspects of this call that they made specifically to the American unions is to break ties with the occupation trade unions, and that means Histadrut. The history of Histadrut starts way before the establishment of the State of Israel. It starts in 1920s, and the American Federation of Labor financed it. And what they did at the time, it was deemed progressive because it was supporting Jewish labor. But what was going on in Palestine at the time was that Histadrut was actually promoting a boycott of businesses that hired non-Jews. So they're the ones that started with the damn boycott in order to support an apartheid state and a Jewish supremacist state. This started in the 20s. Many people don't know that. Jump to today. The IDF reservists are getting 400 shekels a month from the Histadrut. In other words, this trade union, which in reality you cannot call it a trade union because in fact it follows more of a corporativist, i.e. fascist model, by having some shares in the actual stocks of many of the Israeli industries. So it's not really a trade union because they don't really represent workers, and least of all do they represent Palestinian workers. They use Palestinian dues, but do not represent them. They keep them tied to very low-wage construction jobs, and they support apartheid. My union, UPTE, we had a Peace and Social Justice Committee, which, by the way, no longer exists under the present leadership of my union. And the Peace and Justice Committee passed a resolution in support of Palestine in June 2nd, 2021. That included breaking ties with Histadrut. We decided in that resolution that we were going to take it to the top. We were going to take it to the CWA, which is our parent union, Communication Workers of America. Now, I don't know how many of you know the history of the Communication Workers of America and its role in the formation of the American Institute for Free Labor Development, which was and continues to be the right arm of U.S. foreign policy in intervention in Chile, my home country, my mother's home country, and in other countries in Latin America. The American Institute for Free Labor Development, which is part of the AFL-CIO, which the AFL-CIO gets funding for, is an interventionist model where they train people to make strikes like they did like they striked against Salvador Allende in 1971. Just to give you an idea of how enmeshed everything is, Israel also funded and sold weapons to the Pinochet dictatorship, as they did to the Rios Montt in the 80s, and South Africa, apartheid South Africa. So this has nothing to do with Judaism or even having a Jewish state. In reality, it's Jewish supremacist, white settler colonialism, and anti-workers. Now, my union, UPTE, under the new leadership, they buried it. They took it off of the website. In October 2021, I brought a resolution to the CWA convention, and my own leaders of my own union did not support it. It was basically objected to, so it didn't make the floor. But in June 14th, before that, we brought it to the San Francisco Labor Council, a resolution on Palestine. And AIPAC supporter Olga Miranda from Local 87, when I say AIPAC supporter, she herself spoke at an AIPAC conference and said, "I am AIPAC." So this is not a rumor. She was able to table it, to send it to committee to die. And while we were waiting for fellow comrades from another union to join us and to be sworn in July, instead they got sworn in August. And by September, the AFL-CIO had sent a letter to the San Francisco Labor Council telling the Labor Council that we could not even discuss it because it was a policy issue upon which they had already decided. Back during the Vietnam War, the San Francisco Labor Council held a different position regarding the war. They were against the war, while the national AFL-CIO was for it. So it went completely against the tradition and in violation of worker autonomy and worker rights to be able to make their decisions about what they support and don't support. So when September came around and we got the letter, we were stifled. by the leadership of the San Francisco Labor Council, which included Mike Casey from Local 2. It included Kim Taglioni, the executive director of the Labor Council. It included Susan Solomon from UCSF and then later became representative of the California Federation of Labor. I'm naming names. I'm naming names because a lot of people that go out into the streets and supposedly support Palestine, when it gets right down to it at the San Francisco Labor Council, they vote against it. Now, I got booted off of the Labor Council by my own union. Why? Because I was bringing in resolutions such as the resolution against privatization of Laguna Honda Hospital, which meant that 22% of the patients at Laguna Honda were dying because they were being transferred. And I was bringing in resolutions, many other resolutions. And guess what? Rudy Gonzalez from the Building and Trades, his people wouldn't show up to the Labor Council meetings. They wouldn't show up, so we wouldn't have a quorum. And then guess what? Guess who was to blame for that? Because there was no quorum. They blamed me for bringing the resolutions to begin with. Now, fast forward. We have an important march going on, a very important, with Bay Area Labor for Palestine. And unfortunately, when I brought up the issue of Histadrut, it was postponed again and again and again. And again, I found myself being removed. Also, I'd like to say that within CWA, there's also the Newspaper Guild. The Newspaper Guild apparently had passed a resolution, but you can't find it anywhere. It's nowhere to be found because it's not even on the goddamn website. There's been 134 journalists killed and more. 10% of the journalists in Gaza have been killed. Not only themselves, but their family members. How? With the Where's Daddy software. And where does that software come from? From Silicon Valley, right here. And the Google workers who stood up, they got fired. So what is CWA doing about that? Everything is interconnected. And we need to stand firm with Palestine. And we need to break ties with Histadrut. And we need to divest from Israeli bonds as well. From our pension as well as for the endowment. Students all over the country are asking for divestment, are demanding it. Last night, the UCLA Zionists came out, 200 Zionists attacking. Police did nothing. So we really need people to stand up and say, that's it, no more. No more genocide. Free Palestine. Thank you.
Free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are thousands of workers here in San Francisco, tens of thousands of workers who are nonprofit workers. They're in the Tenderloin. They're trying to help people. They're doing public work, and they're not public workers. They're paid underpaid, and they're understaffed. And one of them was fighting for her members. And welcome, Monique.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Monique. I used to work for Tenderloin Neighborhood Development Corporation. They're the bloodsuckers of the Tenderloin. They prey on poor people, and they prey on their workers. Just like all these nonprofits. It doesn't matter, the Tenderloin, the Mission, they're all tools of the capitalists. They're all poverty pimps, and they're using us. They're using our labor to pretend that they're providing services, to pretend that they're a safety net for people who don't have enough means to get by. We should all have enough means to get by. We should all be the owners of the means of production, not just the executives and the bureaucrats that run City Hall and give crumbs to the nonprofits to then give more crumbs to the communities that they pretend that they serve. And they lie to us. The nonprofits are all lying to us, and they're all just using their positions for the Democratic Party to support Joe Biden and bombing people in Palestine. So we need to start banding together and unite and start denouncing the nonprofits for the lies that they tell and for the pretend work that they do. And the other thing is that the nonprofits are used as subcontractors so that the city doesn't have to pay the real cost of labor to nonprofit workers. They can get by saying, oh, you're doing such good work, thank you so much, and pay us nothing barely. So please denounce the nonprofits with us. Denounce them as a tool of the capitalists, because that's what they really are, and they're getting in the way of us demanding our human rights. From SF to Palestine, we demand our human rights. From SF to Palestine, we demand our human rights. From SF to Palestine, we demand our human rights. Thank you. We got a petition. I'm going to bring around a petition to you. Please sign it. It's for a general strike that the workers of the United States need to stop business as usual. So please sign the petition. Thank you. Right.
Now, brothers and sisters, there's a very serious issue going on, because right now in Los Angeles at UCLA, the Zionists and fascist Proud Boys and others are attacking the encampment. They're attacking the students. And we have a student, he's a member of UAW 2865, who's there. They were beaten up, they punched out students, and he's going to speak to us. His name is Peter, about what's going on in Los Angeles. The rise of fascism is a danger, the attack on the students is outraged, and the police and the mayor of Los Angeles allowed this encampment to be attacked like last night. So Peter will make a report. Welcome, Peter.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Well, last night, a group of several hundred fascists attacked the student encampment at UCLA. And it started at about 11 p.m. With a large group of Zionists gathering outside the camp and firing 3 large fireworks into the camp at the tents. I think there were over 200 of them, maybe 300. Almost the entire camp rushed up to defend the barricades. The Zionists started throwing stuff at us. Then they rushed the barricades, tried to pull them apart and get through. And we tried to hold the barricades together. They shot tear gas at us, sprayed mace and bear spray at us, tried to shine lasers at us. Some people got beaten quite badly, hit with poles. At least 5 people were quite injured, went to the ER. There are people that have shattered hands, punctured feet. The entire time the Zionists were screaming all kinds of racist slurs, threats, and that went on for 3 hours without any kind of stop or lull until about 2 a.m. And that entire time, the students, you know, most of them, the vast majority of them undergrads, 18, 20-year-olds, bravely held the line, encouraged each other, tried to prevent escalation and rein in anyone on our side from retaliating in any way. And private security and UCPD and LAPD stood by and let it happen. They were there, they watched for 3 hours. And there's no doubt that the UC administration was aware of all of this, and they clearly had made a decision to let it happen. And then when LAPD finally did approach after 3 hours, the Zionists dispersed. None of them were arrested as far as I know. And that we thought that the cops were going to attack us and clear the camp. But in the end, they didn't. There are rumors that they may tonight, but we'll see. And really, this is the worst it's gotten so far, but the encampment has been under attack relentlessly since last Thursday when it began. The night before last, we had a group of 30 or 40 young men attempt to storm the camp, and we had to hold them off. And that was crazy enough at the time, but it turned out to just be a dress rehearsal for what happened today, or last night. And there was a large Zionist counter-protest on Sunday, which also was violent. And so, you know, there's fascists there, Proud Boys, fascist YouTubers that prowl around the camp at all hours of the night. And so we're organizing in our union for strike. The leadership has just called a strike authorization vote, and we need to have it ASAP. And if it's not ASAP, we're going to have to call a wildcat. And we are organizing with anybody in the labor movement that we can. We're trying to get in contact with AFSCME, AFT-CIO, whoever else will help, because these kids really need our support. And that's about it, comrades. But yeah, we're gonna keep fighting this. Oh, the other thing, the Daily Bruin, the student newspaper, they published a scathing editorial. This is a typically very timid student newspaper, and they published an editorial that says, "Will someone have to die on our campus tonight for you to intervene, Gene Block?" That's the chancellor. "The blood would be on your hands." And the Daily Bruin now appears to have been taken down. So the UCLA has not hesitated to censor student speech as well as their right to assemble. But we're going to stay out there, comrades, so thank you.
Solidarity, brothers and sisters. So you have solidarity from the people here. Hands off the students. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and thanks for that report. This is a life and death question, because when you think about what's going on in this country and in this world, this is not a game. This is a life and death question, because Trump and the people around him want a fascist regime. So our next speaker is Mehmet from Turkey, because today in Turkey they tried to have a May Day in Taksim, and it was attacked by the police. Thousands of workers came out. So they face repression, and they're backed by the United States. So welcome, Mehmet.
And thank you for coming today. As the previous speaker said, this is a fight for life or death. When are we going to start understanding this? Fascism is not a joke. Fascism may have started in Germany, in Italy, in 1930s, 40s, but it has changed. Let's not look at the same formats that we have seen in Germany to identify what fascism is. When capitalism goes into crisis, when they cannot control the workers, when they cannot control the people, they have one and only one weapon. That's called fascism. And capitalism today is one of the worst crises. The rates of profit are falling. That's why they move to China. That's why they move to India, to make the cost less so that they can keep up their levels of profit. But what the hell are they going to do with all the workers in the United States? They are going to be condemned to hunger. And what is helping them? What is helping them is AI. AI is a long process that was coming. They started in the 1950s by trying to eliminate the factory workers. Other workers in the office said, well, that's not us. It doesn't concern me. Once the unions were under attack, once the factory workers were pushed back, guess what? They came after the office workers who thought they were irreplaceable. After the office workers, the engineers were in line. Engineers thought that they were irreplaceable. Look at where the engineers are today. After the engineers came the IT. IT people thought that, oh, we are irreplaceable. Look at what's happening. How many people Google, Twitter, X, Uber are throwing out from their IT departments, Apple. it has come to them. When are we going to learn to stand together against this and the political reflection of this fascism? Today in Turkey, the people tried to celebrate May Day, and the government said no way. Although all the confederations, the left, socialists, workers, joined forces, and they tried to march. They were attacked with pepper gas, with bullets, with batons, and they fought back. But we have to understand, why are they marching? Why did they try to celebrate? It was only in 1977 when more than 500,000 people tried to celebrate the May Day. And they closed down a huge hotel overlooking the plaza, a hotel owned by ITT, the same company that works in copper, that did the coup in Chile in 1973. They closed down the hotel and they brought in special planes with assassins that came from United States, and they placed them on the roofs, and they opened fire on the May Day parade, killing 34 people. That's why it's important to know our history, know what's going on, and know the dangers of fascism. Fascism is not only Trump, yes, he is, and his followers, but fascism is not limited to only Trump and his cohorts. We have Biden that is giving billions to the Zionist regime in Israel so that they can freely kill babies, nurses, doctors, women, children, elderly or young. This is what we are enabling. And if you want to talk about fascism, this is what fascism is. We are standing together with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. But this is not a religious war we are seeing in the Middle East. Turkey, a Muslim country that is being led by an Islamic dictator, fascist, has no problems when it comes to killing Muslim Kurds. Every day, Kurds, Muslim Kurds are being massacred by the state of Turkey. And let's remember, who helps the Israeli regime? Not only Biden, but Turkish state sends oil, Turkish state sends food, Turkish state sends water, Turkish state sends steel and other material to make weapons to Israel, while on the street they talk about helping the Palestinians. It's a lie. When capitalism rules, money is the god, and wherever they can make money, they will even sell their mothers for few pennies. This is what capitalism is. This is what imperialism is. So let's stand with our brothers and sisters, and let's celebrate our only holiday, the May Day. Thank you very much.
One of the big lies in Los Angeles, and that the corporate media, Democrats and Republicans, are saying that these encampments are anti-Semitic. They're saying that these people are anti-Jewish at these encampments. That is a lie. That is a lie. And we have a sister here, Carol Seligman, to talk about that. She's a Jewish American. Because the propaganda they're putting out is actually the opposite. The Zionists are working with the Nazis. That's what happened in UCLA. The Zionists work with the Proud Boys and Nazis. Why is that? Zionism is a racist ideology. So welcome, Carol Seligman.
There was a saying I saw. It said, if you wondered what you were doing as the Nazis in Germany were coming to power and a genocide was going on, if you wondered what you would have been doing when you were there, you're doing it. And we now are fighting a genocide. And it's really important to name this as a genocide. And what else could you call a bombardment that targets people's apartment buildings and turns them into rubble? And 14,500, at a minimum, children and babies have been killed as part of this 34,500 Palestinians. And that's just the people that they know the names of. It's not the people who are buried under the rubble. Palestine is being totally ruined by American bombs in the hands of the Israeli military. That is a genocide. They are killing the Palestinian people of Gaza and also the West Bank, but at this point mostly Gaza. They are killing the masses of people, injuring the masses of people, and making it impossible for them to live because they've bombed their apartment buildings. They've destroyed their hospitals. They have destroyed all their clinics. They have destroyed all their university programs, all their education, even kindergartens and preschools. If that is not a genocide, what is? And the thing that is so important for us here in the United States to come to grips with is that our tax dollars are paying for this. We are paying for a genocide that's killing civilians, that's killing children, that's killing babies. What we must do is mobilize everywhere that we are. Our neighborhoods, our unions, our workplaces, our schools, and explain that there is no justification for this genocide. The arguments of Zionists that Israel is somehow defending itself, that is, I want to say the word ridiculous, but it's much worse than ridiculous. It's absolutely the most cruel and horrifying thing to say, that because a terrorist action that most of us condemn killed 1,200 people, therefore it's somehow self-defense and okay for Israel to destroy all of Gaza, all the buildings, all the people, all the schools, the hospitals. No, that is not a justification. There is no justification for genocide. And we who understand that must be the voice to oppose it, to bring in our fellow workers, our fellow neighbors, everyone who has a brain and a heart, to join us in opposing this as strongly as we can. You know, Hamas wants prisoners released. Israel has thousands of prisoners, maybe half of them with no charges. They're just holding them because they're Palestinian. We have, and they're political prisoners, right? They're people who Israel doesn't want to be organizing for their own self-determination. Well, we have political prisoners in this country. Mumia Abu Jamal is a political prisoner, a totally innocent man who's been in prison for over 40 years and speaking out on everything that concerns the American people, especially now he's speaking out on Palestine and praising the students, sending messages to the students who are having encampments. And here In California, there are many innocent prisoners still on death row, even though there's temporarily there's a moratorium on the death penalty. But Kevin Cooper, Jarvis Masters, many other innocent men at San Quentin are still on death row. Any of us who know what the situation with prisoners is in this country can understand that it's much worse in Palestine, as bad as it is, and we have a link to fighting for the release of these prisoners. Join the struggle.
All right, thank you. Woo! Thank you, Carol. And we also have another brother here from the ILWU. Welcome to Paul.
Paul the Hall.
Paul the Hall. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. On this Labor Day movement, this is May Day.
Speak into that. Get a close. Yeah, you can into that, but close.
All right.
Small. You can hold it. You can hold it.
Okay. We are longshore workers. We want to let you know. We are longshore workers. Yes. We the one keeps the ships coming in and unloading from the docks and keep the containers back and forth and placing them in the yard and back on the ship. Whoa, for 30 years or more, all this has been hidden on how, no, that's good. We forced back to work. Okay, legitimate claims are being denied repeatedly. Okay, repeatedly. You can work, but don't get hurt. You can die, but don't cry. Okay, so that's their motive. You know what I mean? They keep our workers calm. They force us to go to EDD. Well, EDD is all disability money. What about the young people who's coming in? They don't have no disability. Okay, so again, you know what I mean? We're supposed to get paid for workers' comp when we get hurt. Okay, we don't receive that. We don't get that. Okay, and so now we got the longshore textbook that's stopping all of our cases. Okay, from being, everything's remained pending. We forced back to work. Everything, not even 100%. Some of them, not even 50%. This goes out to all the ones who done passed on, fighting their case, trying to win their case, get paid for their case. A lot of it never happened. Never happened. Okay, so we here to take a stand today, and on May 8th, down in Sacramento at the Capitol, we're going to be down there, and we hope get a lot of the college students to come out and support us, okay? We're going to be down there on that day also, okay? And Pacific Maritime, how they have a private life insurance out on you. How is that? Who does that? Life insurance without your families even knowing about life insurance? Oh, wow, they keep that hidden. It started from $100,000 off the top, okay? Now, they done took 30 off the top. Now, if you're active and you're working down there on as a longshore down there, it's $70,000. The family would get $7,000 if you pass away active. Now, from the retirees, they done took $70,000. And you retired alive, you only get $30,000. How is that? You can't dip in a policy while a person is still active or living. Wow, this is the most bizarre thing we ever heard of. Yeah, so they got all these allegations going on. And this is here on the West Coast, 15,000 or more longshore men and workers. All nationalities. All nationalities. It don't stop. And it's hurting all of us. We work the docks. We support. And we pay our taxes. We keep our schools open. They take in our money, little by little, but we don't know about it. And also, underneath the federal column, it's not in the wage column, it's underneath the federal column, they're getting a percentage. Even when you draw a withdrawal, okay, out of Fidelity, PMA is getting a cut They all getting a cut. It's sad. It doesn't make any sense. You know, we work hard down here as longshore men and women. Okay? They stalk us, they follow us around. A few of us done got jumped, busted windows. What is all that for? Why can't you just pay us? Okay? Pay us for the hard work we have done.
Yeah.
The lives that was lost. Woo! And we was fighting and fighting and fighting.
Yeah.
And we representing our young people today. Our young people is the future. They the ones going to keep this going. They the ones going to keep this going. Thank you.
All right. One of the things that we're facing is this, as our brother Mehmet had said earlier, is about this extreme capitalism and exploitation. Now, be very careful. There's a lot of people and politicians, leadership, that are hiding behind these labels. And they're doing it so that other folks that are Democrats and progressives don't come out and say anything and critique them. Now, that is our duty, to question authority. We are here to speak truth to power. The founding fathers of our country required that we do that job. That's what we're doing here today. So when you see these folks hiding behind labels, saying they're progressives, ask them, is there any progress? Are you bringing any progress to the table? If you don't bring progress to the table, you're a fake progressive. Do your job, step up, or step off. That's how it is.
Thank you.
All right, next, Steve.
Okay, we have another poem on Gaza, brothers and sisters. But before we do that, let's do a chant. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Stop U.S. funding of Israel. Stop U.S. funding of Israel.
I appreciate it.
Wiping out Gazans. Today, last week, online sources told me Israelis want to get rid of Prime Minister Netanyahu, not because of genocide on innocent Gazans, not because of attacks on Rafah or Iran or Syria, but because Gazans are swimming on their own beach. Destroyed as it is, they're out there swimming, where settlers cannot go. Gazans are enjoying their beach in the middle of attacks. They are affirming their own lives. They know are cheap to Israeli soldiers, easily eradicated by Israeli bombs. Yet Gazans will affirm life in the midst of death. Death even to their frozen embryos kept in 7 clinics, now bombed by Israel. 4,000 embryos destroyed April 20th, 2023 in Gaza, where there is a birth every 10 minutes, affirming life, where Gazans celebrate life, where women who cannot conceive normally because of the trauma of continuing genocide hope for a chance to become pregnant with their own embryos. Yet Israel will even take that from Gaza, so desperate they are to wipe out all life on the Strip, so illegal settlers can finally go to a beach they will never own. Passover. Recently, Israel struck the Iranian consulate in Syria. Iran response with drones intended no damage to avoid war. Israel retaliated modestly to avoid war, yet is eager to demolish Rafah in Gaza, planning always to wipe out Gazans to create greater Israel. where in West Bank most of the land is illegally settled by Zionists who have already driven Palestinians from their homes or simply killed them or put them in prisons, where Zionist leaders are now convinced the death penalty for arrested Palestinians is best for Israel in crowded prisons so that Palestine may be rid of more Palestinians to make room for Israelis who dream of greater Israel in Palestine, in Syria, perhaps in Lebanon and Jordan, perhaps even in Egypt, where they might return as victors to a land that once enslaved them, but where the angels of death passed over to save their firstborn, killing instead 1 million Egyptian firstborn children. The land of Egypt, from which Moses promised to lead them to the land of Canaan, already settled by Palestinians, an early chapter in a dream for greater Israel. And my last poem deals with, as you know, the flotilla. I've watched the history of the flotillas going in to help Gaza, and we know that because of bureaucracy, Israel has stopped the recent flotilla from going, saying that they have to have a vote from all the boats that it's okay that the flag on the first boat is accepted. But a bureaucratic blocking of the embargo. Flotillas to rescue Gaza. August 2008. First Freedom Flotilla to Gaza brings Gaza medicine, takes amputees to Cyprus to fit legs for children attacked by Israel. Surprised, Israel does nothing, but the following flotillas are stopped. A flotilla from Turkey is attacked. 9 people are killed. Not till now has another flotilla dared bombardment from Israel. Today, in 2023, a flotilla should leave with several tons of food for starving Gazans. Over 100 people Zoom their support last week. Donate for the flotilla. Pray it will not be stopped by Israel. Pray that the ocean will bless its journey. Free, free Gaza! Free, 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 free Palestine!
Free Palestine. Thank you, brothers and sisters. So one of the things about the United States and the role of imperialism in the United States is that this country, the leaders, the government have said that we're bringing democracy to people all over the world. Democracy, American-style democracy. Now in 1889, the United States, in a war with Spain, invaded Cuba and invaded Puerto Rico and the Philippines to bring democracy. Today, Puerto Rico is still a colony of the United States. And they've used free trade to destroy the people of Puerto Rico. They've used trade agreements to destroy these workers and make them slaves to American capitalist multinationals. And joining us is Ricardo Ortiz from Puerto Rico. He's a labor researcher. Welcome, Ricardo.
Thank you, Steve.
Hold this.
Okay.
Stay right there, though.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Yes, as my comrade Steve Seltzer has mentioned, Puerto Rico is one of the places that has suffered the consequences of neoliberalism. Right now, the country is run by a dictatorial fiscal control board that was installed by none other than Barack Obama, the Democrat, the one that helped to overthrow the government of Honduras. Now, today, we are celebrating International Workers' Day. Woo! And right here in the U.S., there are so many workers that have been displaced by the policies of both the Republicans and the Democrats. And you can find them sleeping in the streets of this city. You don't have to go very far to see the consequences of capitalism. And now, in top of everything that is happening, that the U.S. is doing abroad in Gaza, in Ukraine, everywhere, supporting reactionary regimes, right here, the U.S. Congress, that millionaire club, gave Biden the go-ahead in billions of dollars to be sent to the Ukraine so people get killed. This administration is arming to the teeth the Israeli government that is murdering Palestinians by the tens of thousands. So we, brothers and sisters, we got to stop supporting the Democratic Party. We got to organize a party of our own. We always fall to the trap of supporting the people that are gonna sell us down the river, and we gotta change that. We gotta organize ourselves in an economy that we can build housing, that we can have jobs, that we can build health care, child care. That's what we gotta build. You know, that's what we gotta construct, a complete independent workers' party. You know, all these so-called heroes, one by one, Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, what they have done, they have voted for the budget of war. So those people don't represent us. They are not our leaders. That is not our party. We gotta build a working class party, period. I just want to end by this. The struggle of the Palestinian people are our struggle. The struggle of workers in Latin America are our struggle. The struggle of the American workers are the struggle of people around the world. We salute those students in Colombia, in Boston University, right here in University of California, Berkeley, San Francisco State. They are the youth of the world, the flower of the world. Victory for the students. Students and workers will triumph. In Latin America, we got this slogan, and I will close with this. Estudiantes y obreros unidos venceremos. It means students and workers united, we will win. Students and workers united, we will win. Students and workers united, we will win. Thank you.
I'm just making a quick announcement. If you want to support the student encampments at San Francisco State, what they really need right now is tents. So if you have any extra tents that you want to donate or lend, please bring them to San Francisco State so more students can camp out and be in solidarity. Thank you so much. Sure. Yeah. The San Francisco State students started an encampment on Monday, as well as USF. I think that adds to Stanford and UC Berkeley, so more and more students. What was that? At Sacramento as well. So there's a lot of student solidarity here in California. Humboldt State University has been pretty radical. They need support as well. Students have been arrested, faculty have been arrested, so if you can call the sheriff department and the DA in Humboldt County. There's a lot of jail support actions that are needed. And yeah, if you come out to the San Francisco State Quad to ask what other resources are needed, but like I said, tents, I think food is pretty covered, but maybe next week, probably food, supplies, and anything other that they're asking for. So thank you so much.